Hello, this is Bad Vibes. Today's video is on the topic of gaming. It's another short one, trying to get back into the flow of things. But I hope you like it regardless. And sit back, relax, and enjoy. This is my second post on this forum, and hopefully it's my last. I work at GameStop. It's a great job, and I'm surrounded by everything I enjoy. Games, anime, etc. I am attractive, or so I've been told. I'm not saying this to be conceited, it just makes the story make more sense. And I've even been told from my manager that that's why he hired me, because a large percentage of our customers are male. This is one particular customer that I encountered. I mainly work on the registers. This job consists of greeting people when they walk in, and of course working the register. It was getting close to closing time, and I was the only one up front at the time. I was getting started with my closing duties when I heard the buzzer go off when the front door opens. Without looking, I welcomed the customer. "Hi, welcome to GameStop. Let me know if you need anything I can help you find." Normally I get a hello or a response with a question, but it was silent. I looked up from behind the counter and saw a man who just entered the door looking at me. But once my eyes met him, he looked away and started looking at the games on the shelves. I shrugged it off. It's normal for male customers not to greet me, because they think because I'm a female, I don't have valid knowledge about games. I just continued my closing duties. I bent behind the counter when I felt someone standing on the other side. It was the man. He put his games on the counter and says nothing. I grab his games from the drawer, then proceed with the normal questions we ask. "Did you find everything alright? Do you have a phone number with us? Do you want us to protect this game for you?" My questions get met with silence, and all he does is stare. I turn my attention back to the register, and while finishing up the transaction, I could feel his eyes digging into the side of my head. I print out the receipt, put his games in a bag, and he takes it and turns to leave. I again shrug off the interaction, because again, it's not out of the ordinary for me. It's almost time for me to pull down the gates and lock up when I get a call. I groan because I think it's a customer trying to wiggle their way in before we close, and I pick up the phone. Hi, thank you for calling GameStop. This is Mary. How can I help you?" "I was just inside purchasing some games." "Oh, was something wrong with the purchase?" "No, I'm just calling you to let you know that I received your signals." At this point, I'm very confused because I treated him like any other customer. I'm not sure what you mean, sir." "I'm calling you to let you know that I picked up on your signals." Also, I know I should have hung up, but I was curious to what he was referring to. "You are very beautiful, and your signals were received. When do you get off? I'll be waiting." At this point in the conversation, I hung up and rushed forward to close the gates and lock up the store. I went into the back and told my manager about the phone call, and he said after I finished closing up, he would take me home because my apartment complex was very close, so I always walked. As I was quickly replacing the trash bag, I saw a car pull up right in front of the store and park. No one got out. Luckily, my manager parked out back, so we left through the back door. I never saw this guy again, but every time I walk home, I think about that one particular customer. So this happened a few months ago. I just got in Red Dead Redemption. Awesome game. And while I was playing online, I met this awesome guy named Rick. He was like in his 50s and is a retired firefighter. We played together for a while, helping me level up so that people wouldn't target a lower player who is also a girl. After a while, he introduced me to this guy named Black Wolf Angel, or something like that. Black seemed cool at first. We would hang out on RDR, shooting lots of bandits and doing gang hideouts. After a while, we became somewhat good friends. He then started lightly to flirt with me every once in a while. I let it slide, the kind of person I am. I made it a goal to not get a so-called Xbox boyfriend, so I tend to avoid flirting on there. We would normally hang out in parties with Rick, but one time he invited me to a party. Oh, okay, he and Rick want to play, but I was dead wrong. He started to flirt super heavily with me. I acted like I had to go, so I left. For weeks, he was spamming with party invites and messages saying, "Hey sexy," and stuff like, "I'm so horny." It finally got to the point where I was sick of him. So when he invited me the last time, I answered. Big mistake. He started the usual flirting, and I just said, "Look, Black, I'm not interested in any kind of relationship right now, so please lay off." He agreed to lay off for a few days, but then he broke his silence by sending me a message saying, "I'm thinking of suicide because of you." I flipped my shit and started to curse him out and telling him never to contact me again. I told Rick all about it, and he told me that he stopped talking to him a few days before for the same reason. So for a while everything was cool, but then I started getting phone calls and text messages saying the same shit that he used to say. I answered one of the calls and told him to fuck off or I'll call the police. Thankfully he stopped after that. So Black from Xbox Live, let's never ever meet again, you creep. Edit. I never gave him my number. Also turns out he stalked my friend and questioned her for my number. He threatened to hack her account. This happened about 5 years ago, right at the height of Pokémon Go's popularity. I played it regularly with my fiance Luke. We decided to get clever, and instead of walking to make our eggs grow or whatever, we would just drive down the residential streets slowly, about 15 miles per hour. We always drove the same path, and we did this several times. At the time, we lived in a very small, one traffic light town. The town was primarily low-income families. We usually played Pokemon at about 10 or 11 p.m., as did several other locals. Without other entertainment, it was a fairly popular game around town. This particular night, I'm driving the normal path with Luke. We are catching sick Pokemon left and right and hatching eggs like crazy. We paused in the water department's parking lot to catch our 217th Ekans. We drove for about 10 minutes and parked next to an empty lot. Across the street is a normal residential landscape with houses and whatnot. I was catching my first Pikachu, stoked as fuck, and some guy drives by in a beat up silver SUV. He slows down and asks me if I'm okay. I smile and flash my phone screen and tell him that we're playing Pokemon. He says something like, "Okay, have a good one." But he seemed weird, so we leave and make our last loop around the neighborhood, pausing as we collect various Pokemon. About 15 minutes later, we were back by the empty parking lot, and there's another Pokemon. Suddenly, the house across the street starts pouring a beam of light at me, very small and bright. It was weird, so Luke and I noped out of there. As soon as we did, the beat up silver SUV is behind me. I didn't even see where he came from. I turned onto the main road to head home. I didn't even realize anything was wrong at first. He pulls up next to me, and I can only see a male driving and a female passenger. The driver is shining the blinding light through his window at me as we drive. At this point, I'm simply pissed. I keep asking Luke what this guy's fucking problem is. I'm telling him to tell the guy to fuck off, all while I'm beginning to be petrified. I am a confident person, but I'm not a confident driver, and had no idea why these people were fucking with us. I do know that it was the same guy that asked if I was okay earlier. I don't want to drive home because I don't want to lead these people to my house, but I had no idea what to do. I decided to drive to the police station, but there was no one there, parking lot empty, lights off. We have like 2 police officers, so they both must have been out patrolling. I was shook. I was raised in a large city, so a tiny town living, and no police at the fucking police station was so foreign to me. I had no clue what to do, so I drove to the little hospital and managed to lose them. My fiance and I immediately changed seats without speaking. We sat there for about 15 seconds, then pulled out. He's behind us again, and he's aggressive. I called 911 at this point and began crying to dispatch, telling them that this crazy guy is following us. At this point, Luke is flying through the town at random. He's running red lights, speeding 70 plus in residential areas, tearing through people's lawns. This was seriously as insane as it sounds. Everywhere we went, he went too. Every time we sped up, he did too. We had no idea what he wanted, but we knew that he wanted to hurt us. We could feel it. At one point, we were tearing through some yards in my car. No fences. And this guy manages to box us in. I'm still on the phone with 911. We are stuck between his car and a couple of trees. Immediately upon stopping, the guy jumps out, as does his female passenger, as well as two very large male passengers in the back seat. Luke immediately pulls out his gun and points it at them, screaming, "Get the fuck back! Get the fuck back!" They all bolt back to their vehicle and take off. I'm absolutely shaking and sobbing at this point, talking to 911, and the lady finally asks me where I want the cops to meet me. I tell her the local gas station. We are there within 20 seconds, as are the cops. This town is seriously so little. I don't know how the cops didn't see us or intervene while we destroyed dozens of yards at midnight and drove extremely fast and recklessly. Seconds after we pull in, so does the SUV. The guy jumps out and begins to rush my car. The cops stop him. They talk to him for a while, and we're just sitting in the car shaking. The older cop finally walks over to talk to us and says, "So, did one of you pull out a gun on him tonight?" We were shocked. This was the only thing he asked us. We told him yes and explained everything that happened. Cops went to talk to him again, came back and basically said that the guy thought we were casing his house because he kept seeing our vehicle pass it. The cop told us that we were lucky that he decided not to press charges because Luke pulled out his gun. My car had decent damage from driving through trees and bushes and shit, scratched up. Pretty sure that these guys were gonna beat our asses, and the cop tells us that we are lucky? We were so scared and shaken up, so we didn't even argue anything and left when they allowed us to. But not before they ran all our information and made us feel like criminals. Like we were childish and stupid for playing Pokémon Go. The cops openly laughed at us. We went home and stayed up all night long, taking turns peeking out our windows. We were convinced that they were going to drive around, find my car, and harass us. The next day, we had a high-tech security system installed. I have since seen the guy and the girl several times. I worked at the school, and they had a young child. I've never seen or interacted with them prior to this day, or after, but I know they know who I was, so I'm glad I don't live there anymore. I also never played Pokémon Go after that night. I should also mention that I understand why the guy thought what he did, but I do not think his reaction was justified. This all happened 3 or 4 years ago, but it still shakes me up when I recall the story. I went to my local GameStop a few miles away from my house. After picking up my game, I got back into the car and pulled out of the parking lot to drive home. I immediately noticed that the dirty black Jeep that pulled out of the parking lot at the same time as me is now behind me and driving like a complete asshole. This dude was riding my ass and swerving back and forth like he was trying to get my attention. Although it was very annoying, I wasn't really concerned at this point. I tried merging lanes, but he stayed right behind me and merging along with me. I decided to speed up, and he also made sure to tailgate me, close to 70 miles per hour. We were on surface streets. I began to panic and took a shortcut through some quiet residential areas. The street was empty, so I veered into a neighborhood and ran a stop sign. The black Jeep ran the stop sign as well and was still driving recklessly close behind me. It was getting dark at the time, so I wasn't able to see the driver through the rear view, but his license plate was clearly visible. I immediately called 911 and read off the plate. The officer told me to meet him at a Ralph's on the other side of the neighborhood where I was heading. It took me about 10 minutes to get there, but it felt like an hour with this creepy weird car lunging behind me. I finally entered the shopping plaza and noticed the police weren't there yet. I began circling the parking lot, and he continued behind me. I circled the plaza about 6 times before I saw 2 cops pull in. The black Jeep immediately took a turn, drove over a grass divider, and booked it out of the shopping center. One of the cops chased him out, and the other met me to fill out an incident report. I never found out what happened,